Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pitts. This is a Ukraine war update, first part thereof for the 8th of November 2024. I'm still going through my stages of grief. I think I'm in anger today, real anger. And this has made me particularly angry. Viktor Orban saying apparently yesterday in Budapest that the US will withdraw from the war in Ukraine after Trump officially takes office. If that's true, the anger. If it's not true, or either way, Orban just needs to be kicked out of Europe. Something needs to happen with Hungary. Something needs to happen with Viktor Orban. I'm so fed up with him as a lackey of Putin and a go-between between Putin and Trump, but not in a good way. And just before we get onto the hits and losses, I mean, Trump did claim that he would end Russia's war against Ukraine in 24 hours, and it would be the first thing he would do once elected. Before ever taking office, TikTok, it's been over a day and Russia are bombing more last night than we've seen for a long time. So it is pretty depressing that that is the case. Putin has spent the last 2 days bombing Kyiv, Kharkiv and Odessa. Are we really seeing peace and de-escalation in the future under a Trump regime? 24 hours is up. Did he really already persuade Putin to withdraw his troops from Ukraine? Just checking. Yeah. So it was a pretty tough night for the Ukrainians last night. Seems not to have, the war seems not to have stopped. Right, the losses, as according to the Ukrainian General Staff, and all the caveats apply, you can check them out in the description to the video below, have been really high again for the Russians. I mean, significant losses. 1,580 personnel loss is a massive number. 9 tanks, pretty much on the daily average, a huge number contextually, I think. 49 armoured personnel vehicles, very high number there, well over double the daily average. 32 artillery systems is a trend back upwards, or a tick back upwards there, not a trend yet. So that, I think, signifies some really significant losses for the Russians. And there is quite a lot of visual evidence to confirm this. I've seen videos of an awful lot of destruction. We're going to look into a few bits and pieces in this section. Of course, 84 vehicles and fuel tanks, very high losses there as well, and 6 pieces of special equipment. And I think, as I've said a number of times, that they are using vehicles generally as in non-typically combat asset pieces of equipment to do attacks as well, which is why we're seeing such a high number of those losses. And indeed, when we look at the Andrew Perpetua loss list, there, in terms of combat assets, it's probably 1-to-1. Just Russians are losing a little bit more, but it's all of these other vehicles down here that the Russians are just losing hand over fist. Just huge numbers. But anyway, yeah, both sides have had a fair few combat asset pieces lost. And not the worst of days, but this will hurt for the Ukrainians. So 3 bits of artillery, an M777, M109, so 2 Western provided pieces and the D30. 4 tanks there. We have various tanks, half of them destroyed and abandoned, half of them damaged. Then infantry fighting vehicles, half dozen of those. A couple of Bradleys destroyed and abandoned, and 1 damaged as well. So that's going to hurt. An Armada damaged as well. A couple of Humvees damaged. And then MRAPs, we have 5 and 4. So we have 9 MRAPs there. Some of these unknown. A few, the others, are Western provided. So we've got Max Pro, Kirpi, Oshkosh, another Max Pro, and a Wolfhound. What sort of ways are these being taken out? Vandal drones, FPV drones, night vision drones, drone, pretty much. Let's have a look. Mine, but then taken out by drone. That's almost 100% drones there, and the ones that aren't are unknown. We've got a decoy taken out by Lancet, which is a drone, and a Lancet as well, hitting 2 trees there, but claiming that it's hit SPG and whatnot. That's incredible. Apart from the unknown causes, 100% of these losses are FPV drones. Drones of different types. Okay, going up to the Russian losses, we have some electronic warfare, some surveillance and comms equipment, quite a bit of artillery, including 2 TOS-1A systems damaged. These are thermobaric systems, so that's a pretty good haul for the Ukrainians there. Depends how badly damaged they are, of course. In the tank, with tanks, there's half a dozen tanks, most of them destroyed or abandoned. We have about a dozen infantry fighting vehicles. Again, most of those destroyed and abandoned. BTR-82s, BMP-1s and 3s. And then we have a couple of AFVs, armoured fighting vehicles, just generic ones. And some APCs, a half dozen, no, also I think 7 APCs, 6 of them destroyed, all MTLBs apart from the BTR-80 at the top there. And then just a lot of civilian vehicles, motorcycles, loafs, pickup trucks, cars, a lot of cars being lost, and more damaged loafs and cars. Andrew Perpetua was saying something about how they're running out of loafs. Be interesting to see what how full their larder is. That's a larder, L-A-R-D-E-R, not L-A-D-A. Goodness me, shouldn't be saying that word around here. Larder Neva's being destroyed there. But anyway, how full their larder is of loaves of bread. These Scooby-Doo vans, Bukankas, they're called loaves because they look the shape of a bread loaf. Okay, so the Russians losing a lot of equipment, but actually both sides having a few... Okay, I think the Ukrainians might have lost fewer combat asset pieces than the Russians, but it's still fairly bad for them. Not the worst, but in terms of the general losses that we've seen, the Russians are just, I mean, it's what we've heard for months and months and months now, but you could even say years, and you still wonder how long they can keep this going, but they appear to be able to do so. In the Kursk region, where the Ukrainians were losing, I think at one stage it was 2-1 during the initial part of their attack, is now switched to pretty much parity, with the Russians losing 2-1 in the last section of time that this has been... this data has been collected. This is NowCO that collects regionally the visually confirmed losses. Kursk region, now the Russians have lost 43 in the last session compared to 21 Ukrainian losses. That puts the Ukrainians on 307 and Russians on 292. So pretty close there, pretty much 1-1. And the Russians losing a lot more because one presumes they are counter-attacking right now in Kursk. And whoever attacks uses more vehicles, and whoever uses more vehicles generally loses more vehicles. So that's, I think, what we can derive from that. If you want to see the granular detail, there are the Ukrainian losses and there are the Russian losses, the totals, and what has been added as well. Okay, so I think we can conclude that the Russians are losing lots of equipment at the moment, and we've seen that over the last weeks, months. Okay, Russian Airspace Forces affiliated channel Fighter Bomber reports that Russia did lose a Ka-52 attack helicopter, the Alligator attack helicopter, yesterday, and the commander also died. The main pilot died. That is, well, I don't know where and I don't know how, but there are lots of sources reporting this, so it appears they have lost a Ka-52. Talking about the loss of equipment, so this is a video coming out from, actually I don't know where it is, this is from Null Reports. This is a Russian soldiers filming their column, it says our column, after coming under Ukrainian fire. Several vehicles are burning while lots of other destroyed equipment can be seen as well. So I'll just play this to give you a sense of, it's 2 minutes long, so I'll skip through it. But this is a bit of a hellscape in terms of running the gauntlet and destroyed vehicles, burning vehicles, as they kind of weave in and out of things destroyed each side of the road. And then, there's smoke billowing out of half burnt vehicles, or completely destroyed husks of vehicles like that you can see there. Just going past countless pieces of kit. This is a bit of an insight into these these losses the Russians taken. There's another one there, fairly substantial vehicle. Interesting that the vehicle they're in appears to be a civilian vehicle, and they're overtaken by golf buggy there. And you'd imagine these vehicles themselves are vulnerable to attack. There's another destroyed vehicle on the side there, another one there, another one there. Just huge numbers of pieces of kit that indicate that the Russians, at least in this area of the front line, wherever it is, are taking really substantial losses. It's just incredible. And a lot of them are burning. I mean, this has happened recently. Yeah, and we saw yesterday, I referenced a video, that's a tank there. Look at these not even charred remains, they're just bits of iron sticking up in contorted messes, holes in the road, another burning vehicle. Quite incredible. Really is. Yeah, so I forget where I was going with that, but yeah, lots of destroyed vehicles in that video. And we have something we haven't seen for a long time, actually, quite a high level commander being killed. It's been a while since Russian generals were killed in Ukraine, but Russian channels now report the recent death of Major General Pavel Klimenko, commander of the Russian Army's 5th Motor Rifle Brigade. I don't know how he died, but that's going to be a bit of a loss for the Russians there. Oh, got another one about the helicopter there. It's a bit out of place. Yeah, pilot did not survive. Navigator was injured. Yeah, okay. And then there's also this. I don't know what to make of this particularly, but there's footage of a frigate of a Russian fleet, FFGH Admiral Gorshkov, is burning. The fire took place on November the 3rd in southern Cyprus. So this is nothing to do with the war per se, but you've got a Russian naval vessel on fire in the Mediterranean. Someone asking here if they have any information about that. It seems that she sailed to Tartus following this incident. That's a Syrian, if I'm correct, a Syrian port that the Russians use. Someone says, don't think it's a fire, it's a smoky engine, a poor grade diesel. It's a possibility. But yeah, if and when it's unlikely to produce that much smoke, if and when machinery is hot, is the claim there. So it could just be a coal, it could just be smoky engine, or it could be a fire. Russian idiot says dead district. So this is quite amusing. Russians find a tank and they're kind of laughing that it's a Leopard, and they pick up a piece of ERA. So if you remember, ERA is explosive reactive armor. You see these bricks around these. They look like bricks. These rectangular, these cuboids that are around usually the turrets, but also the hull of particularly Russian tanks, but actually a lot of Ukrainian tanks, and even Western provided tanks are getting kitted out with the ERA. And what it does is it has explosives inside a metal sheath, and as a projectile hits the explosive reactive armor, it explodes outwards and kind of pushes the projectile back to protect the armor. Sounds counterintuitive, but in explosion, you're putting explosives on your armor to protect your tank or your IFV or whatever. Those explosions force the projectile away. Now, as they're going through this, they appear to find some ERA that isn't ERA. It's literally a brick. They look like bricks, but they actually, inside, they have explosive material. This is a brick inside a metal sheath. And there's this like, oh, look, we found the destroyed Leopard. Look, it has bricks instead of ERA modules. And then they go, a few minutes later, oh, it's a T90. So, yeah, they come across a destroyed tank, laughing that it is a Leopard tank, before they realise, actually, it's a T90 tank. And, yeah, laughs on them. Anyway, the video is not particularly working there, but you get the point. Right, we'll move on to distant strikes. So another massive wave of drones, but also quite a few missiles. I say quite a few, actually. that many missiles compared to what we've seen in the past, with literally over 100 missiles on record days. And now we're sort of going, oh, look, they sent 5 missiles in. And we talked about this yesterday a little bit, because there are questions as to why there is this lack of missiles, both cruise missiles and ballistic missiles. In fact, this Iskander-M is the first time they sent a ballistic missile for some time. This one got through, and I think it was in Kyiv. And so there's a little bit of a worry that a missile's got through in Kyiv. Right, anyway, 92 drones were sent in, 62 were shot down, 26 taken out by electronic warfare. So that gives you 88, that's 4 drones left. 1 remains in airspace, so that's 3 drones getting through potentially, according to these stats. 4 out of the 4 KH-59-69 missiles were shot down, so that's good news. But yeah, the one Iskander appears to have got through. Russian overnight attack injured 38 people in Kyiv, Odessa and Kharkiv Oblast. So those are the 3 main sites, and actually they continue to be, this last week seems to be a case of aiming exclusively at those 3 places. Odessa has been under an awful lot of pressure for the last couple of months, really. Russian forces launched guided bombs, missiles and drones at multiple Ukrainian cities overnight, causing casualties and damage to civilian infrastructure. So although we look at infographics like this and we think, okay, yeah, they did pretty well on taking out all of these Shahids and missiles, actually, alongside them will be a huge number of guided glide bombs that won't get shot down, right? And that's what's doing a lot of the damage. So 25 injured after overnight shelling of Kharkiv, 3-month-old baby among them. Allegedly, the city was hit with 3 carbs. So they are your guided glide bombs. One of the shells hit a multi-story house in Saltovsky district, and the entrance was partially destroyed. 2 landings in the central part of the city. Hits on historical and residential buildings are reported. Because, you know, Russia, that's what they do. It's heartbreaking, just this constant degradation of the infrastructure, particularly of this city. Kharkiv gets a rough end of the stick so consistently, and your heart bleeds for these people and that city. Russia launches a missile attack on Kyiv for the first time since early October. At dawn, around 5:30 a.m., Ukrainian Air Force announced the launch of missiles towards the capital. Ukrainian forces did not specify what type. And then Kharkiv was hit by Russian aero bombs, as we've heard, at least 25 injured there. One of the bombs hit a high-rise building in the Saltivka district, so more videos and more images. And then this, I think, is referring to strikes from yesterday, not last night. So yesterday's strikes caused 9 dead and 42 injured as a result of airstrikes. In the photo on the left, mother Sonia with her 1.5-year-old son Adam, who died from the strike. That's just absolutely horrible, isn't it? To think that that Russian strike has achieved, what has it achieved? What has that strike achieved? Destruction of civilian infrastructure and the death of a baby, of a toddler. It's unconscionable in my books. And then, and then we hear, the US is going to pull out of, once Trump's in office, the US is going to pull out of Ukraine. Oh, just let them get on with that then. Oh, look, Russian airstrike on Zaporizhzhia injures 5, damages a hospital. Oh, look, let's just throw some aerial guided glide bombs into a hospital. Bish bash bosh, let's try and injure some people. I mean, it's a hospital. It's not a military target. It's all right, though, because the US is going to pull out, according to Viktor Orban. Overnight, on the other hand, and this is what, like, my anger is kind of turning into, right, and I don't know if you've seen it, but I'm going to possibly play it as a whole and say, like, Zelensky's angry Budapest address, where he's just like, we've actually got the money till 2026, we just need the bloody weapons. Give us the weapons and let us fire them where we can, and we could do this thing. Like, and he's getting angry, and I'm angry. And I think Ukraine needs to just go absolutely crazy on taking out oil refineries again. Just blow up Russia's ability to make money. Because if the US pulls out from Ukraine, they'll lift sanctions. If they lift sanctions, Ukraine are buggered. The only choice is to get around the sanction lifting by destroying the very products that they'll be seeking to export. their ability to refine those products. So I think Ukraine should just go absolutely nuts, build as many missiles as they can, and just fling them into Russia. I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm so sick of Russia doing this, and Ukraine just needs to be given. And I'm hoping that Europe is going to step up and go, right, okay, so that's happened in the US. We either capitulate and follow their lead, or we stand up our own 2 feet and go, right, yep, you can do this. Yep, you can use that. Yep, here's some stuff. There's a big argument in German politics at the moment as to the coalition. And there's a rainbow coalition of the SDP, FPD, I've got that wrong way around, and the Greens. And the smaller party in that coalition, the FDP, FPD, FDP, they are their finance minister. He was from their party. The coalition finance minister, Lindner, he was sacked or walked away. I can't remember. But anyway, there's a complete chaos in the German government, and you're looking at Merz from the opposition CDU, Christian Democratic Union, who is a party of Angela Merkel that used to be in power. He's basically been espousing the use of Taurus and putting red lines down for Russia. But Lindner, who has gone now as finance minister, apparently the argument was about money and Taurus. I think Lindner was wanting Taurus to go to Ukraine. Scholz wasn't, but Scholz wanted $3 billion or 3 billion euros to go to Ukraine. So it's not that Scholz isn't wanting to help Ukraine. It's still about Taurus, but I think we're going to get to this point where, like, even Germany's just going to go, yeah, right, it's all or nothing. Just will back Ukraine. I hope that's going to be the outcome now, and it's going to be Europe having to do this and the US going into some form of isolation, unless there's a recognition of the importance of Ukraine when the Trump administration get into government and go and get told by the intelligence agencies and the DoD, oh, by the way, this is the situation and this is why it's so important. So you can give all the bluster you like when you're outside government, right? And this is often what happens around the world, is you make these big old ideological claims when you're outside of government, and then you get in there and then you find out what the situation really is, and you go, oh, okay, yeah, we might have to change our opinions on that a little bit. We might have to change our agenda on that, because actually we are now privy to a whole bunch of information that we previously weren't, and it kind of does define our actions. So, yeah, Saratov oil refinery, Saratovsky refinery, was hit last night by Ukrainian drones. After a month-long break, the Ukrainian long-range drone campaign against Russian oil infrastructure has restarted. So that is good news. As Null Report says, overnight Ukrainian drones attacked the Saratov cracking refinery, which is engaged in the processing of oil and other hydrocarbons. No information on the scale of the damage yet, but I think they did have that really successful purple patch of doing that, and they probably need to return to doing that again. I don't know whether they stopped these kind of strikes due to the US elections for some particular reason in terms of messaging. And now, 2 days ago, we saw the strikes at the ports on the Caspian Sea, at possibly two frigates being damaged. And now we're seeing an oil refinery be hit the next night. Now, to change subjects, other bits and pieces here. Flights at one of Ukraine's airports, either Lviv or Boryspil. Boryspil is near Kyiv. I would have thought Lviv would be much safer on the western side of the country, may resume by the end of January 2025. Crispin Ellison, senior partner at Marsh McLennan, said this at the 10th Kyiv International Economic Forum. According to him, it will be easier to provide insurance mechanisms for aviation if planes start flying from the Lviv airport, but Zelensky insists that Boryspil International Airport should be the first to open. Interesting. I don't know if that's maybe a Kyiv bias. I don't want to say that the elites of Kyiv, or there's a strategic reason that Zelensky would want Kyiv as opposed to Lviv, because I would have thought, just naturally, it seems intuitive that Lviv would be a much safer option for them. Right, although it has to be said that air defense around Kyiv is probably better, but I would have thought if the Russians are perfectly au fait with striking any old target. Like they'll wang a missile into a hospital, and you couldn't give a monkey's arse. So it's just like, yeah, hospital, yeah, civilian building, apartment block, yeah, doesn't really matter. So when it comes to an airport, they'll be like, yeah, I'm either going to aim for it or I'm going to fly loads of drones over it and see them shoot them down over the airport. Yeah, let's do a bit of airport blowing up. Blowing up a hospital. We've blown up a children's cancer ward. Like, everyone in the world went, oh, and then precisely nothing happened. There's a red line crossed. Oh, no one did anything. So you open up an airport, bish, bash, and a whole lot of bosh. There you go. So, yeah, it is a risk. And you'd have to have an awful lot of air defense around it, obviously. So I don't know if that's why they choose Kyiv, because there just is a better level of air defense. However, Kyiv has been under the cosh. You know, what goes up must come down. So even if you shoot things down above somewhere, you're going to have those munitions fall to the ground in explosive ways. So, yeah, there you go. That's my only bit of extra little nugget for you. So that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. Really do appreciate your support. I am away this weekend. I'm going away tonight I used to be sporty before I got multiple sclerosis and basically can't use my legs. But I used to play rugby, and at the other end of the spectrum, I used to play ultimate frisbee. And at uni, I played ultimate, and for the north of England students, I played ultimate, and I'm going to hang out with my old teammates from a mixed team that we took to the World Beach Championships in Rimini in Italy 1 year, where we were at the World Beach Ultimate Champs, and that was cool. They're awesome people, and I'm going to spend some time with them, and I am going to try and get my videos out. I'm going to take my laptop with me to do some Saturday morning videos. I will be, no doubt, hungover, and then Sunday I'll be coming back, so it's going to be a bit of an odd weekend in terms of content. Now, Benny Pie's been working really hard in sorting out shorts. You've seen a couple of shorts that were out the last few days. There'll certainly be some shorts coming out over the weekend, is my opinion, because they're quite easy. If they're going to kind of getting sorted out by him in a semi-automated AI kind of way, then that's brilliant. It just gives people another avenue into the channel and some more content for when I am slightly hungover. Anyway, that's enough for me. Take care, guys. I'll speak to you soon.